Hey YouTube, Red Sox fan, back again with Let's Play Vanilla Warcraft, episode 27. As you can plainly see right off the bat, I'm not in Hillsbred Foothills. No, I'm not. I'm in Blackfathom Deeps, motherfuckers. It's a level 24 to 32, roughly the level range, dungeon located inside Ashenvale. It's both Horde and Alliance, but obviously I'm Horde, so I'm running it as a Horde. There's really no difference other than the quests, so you don't have to worry about any special bosses. I don't think any dungeon in the game actually has Horde or Alliance specific bosses. I know there are specific bosses for like different classes that you have to summon to kill for quests, but Horde and Alliance, I'm not sure of that. If I'm wrong, someone please correct me. Now, as you can see, also I'm healing, which you might think, hey, what the hell? That's your enhancement. You're a damage dealer. You're not a healer. And to that I say, you are correct, sir. But I also say I have a shit ton of mana drinks. And I have some decent healing spells. Throughout the whole dungeon, I was using just my healing wave. I only have really two spells: healing wave, lesser healing wave, and my healing stream. But that's not really a totem. Healing spring totem. It's just a totem, you know. It's not a spell. So I've been using. I have my 4 different ranks of healing wave, as you can see. I think I just got level 5 at level 24, or rank 5, and then rank 4, 3, and 2. 1 is just kind of like, you know, who cares about that one. So I also have my lesser healing wave. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys right now that I've already gone ahead and recorded this entire run through with Fraps. And so what you're hearing now is actually me going back in time. Actually no, I'm just recording over with Audacity. I'm going to be adding audio track to this. So I hope you guys enjoy. So here we are, guys, at the first boss, who goes by the name of Gamura, which is a reference to an old Japanese turtle demigod who apparently was the god of the universe or something. But I won't get into that too much. It's just a normal tank and smink, really. There's nothing special about this fight. No really special abilities that I haven't noticed. Being a turtle, however, so I guess if hunters want to try and tame them, be my guest. They have a shit ton of armor, so melee DPS, be wary. You might not do as much damage as, say, casters would in this fight, just because he probably has a lot of resistance against melee damage. Now, as for drops, he particularly doesn't drop anything special, just male chest armor. And what's special about that is it doesn't have any stats like stam or strength. It just has a lot of armor, 311, which I don't know if you can count that as a lot. So now that we're done with the first boss, if you follow the island directly to the, well, not directly to the right, kind of diagonally to the right, there's an underwater tunnel that's surrounded by Naga mobs that you're gonna have to take care of. Just some Myrmidons, I think that's how you pronounce that, and some frost witches or battle witches or some crazy name like that. Well, anyway, you'll end up in one of these caves, and which they're also gonna be filled with some mobs. But once you take care of the mobs, we'll actually get to the action, which is Lady Cerakus. Now, this boss fight wasn't too difficult to handle, just a normal tank and spank, like every other boss in here for the most part. She does have some special abilities. She has the magical ability Slow, which will limit your movement speed and also your casting or attack speed. And she also has a Frost Nova that probably has like a 10-yard radius range or something like that. Nothing too difficult to take care of, and she also has some high resistance to frost damage. As for drops, during this run she actually dropped the Naga Heart Piercer, which is a bow, but she also has the possibility of dropping a one-handed sword and some melee DPS leather gloves, so watch out for those. Okay guys, so if you follow one of the little underwater tunnels, you'll end up in a room with an NPC who's giving out a quest for the head that wants you to collect the head of Shadow Lord Kellerus, or the last boss in this dungeon. And it's a pretty good quest. It gives out decent rewards. One is a wand, and the other being a healing shield that's useful for, I guess, paladins who run this dungeon and shamans. Alright, so once you've made your way along through the dungeon, you'll eventually end up in a room full of Murlocs. And it can get a little hectic if they try and run away and they kind of chain aggro every other mob in the room, so kind of watch out for that. We almost wiped once or twice in this room because it gets really crazy. So as I mentioned at the end of the last episode, I went ahead and put my talent point into the improved lightning shield tree. I had an extra talent left over because your shamans, enhancement shamans, are supposed to have to put their talent into two-handed weapon specialization, but because this is a private server, I guess that talent's kind of buggy, and so basically you can just go ahead and train up for that skill from a weapon master instead of actually having to spend that extra talent point. So as you can already tell, we've been attacking the next boss in this dungeon, which is Gelihast, the dual sword wielding Murloc. Now he doesn't have any special attacks or abilities that he uses, but he does do a lot of melee damage output, so just make sure that your heals are always keeping the tank up on health, because I actually almost let our tank die in this run. Now as for what he drops, he actually drops a really good weapon for enhancement shamans in vanilla, a two-handed axe, but it did not drop this run. What dropped instead were some mail gauntlets that had strength and stamina on them. So there's actually a quest that I wasn't able to pick up for this dungeon that once you progress a little further past the Murloc boss, you jump into the water and kind of go underneath a platform where all the main mobs are before the final bosses. And there's a Fathom core that you have to gather. And once you do that, this next boss will spawn, the Baron Aquinas. So he doesn't have too difficult of a fight. All he does is spam frost bolts, and he occasionally frost novas every now and then, which will root you into place. But other than that, after you kill him, you might notice that he doesn't really drop any gear other than greens, which are a pretty low drop rate. The only thing he drops are a quest item called Strange Water Globes that are actually part of the next part of the quest chain that I unfortunately wasn't able to pick up. And it's kind of funny, every time one of the party members that has the quest loots the Fathom core, he or she, I guess it could be a girl as well, will respawn and your party will have to re-kill it. I'm actually going to correct myself right now. The Baron Aquinas has to be a he because the title Baron signifies masculinity. Obviously it's a masculine title, so Baron has to be a he. Sorry, I just had to get that out of the way. So the next boss on the list of bosses in Blackfathom Deeps is Old Cerakus, a Threshodon, which surprisingly not too many people know about on the live servers, or anyway not the people I run BFD with. I always have to kind of point this boss out, and that's because it's kind of hidden away. You know, you want to have to purposefully jump in the water for some reason and kind of stumble upon the boss. So the fight isn't actually that bad at all. It's just another tank and smake like all boss fights are in this dungeon. And its loot table isn't too impressive either, although what dropped in this run were some leather wrist armor. We come now to the penultimate boss of BFD, and that is to say, Twilight Lord Kellerus. Now this fight is actually particularly special because it's not just a normal tank and spink. Every now and then, and I believe it happened either 3 or 4 times in this run, he will put to sleep 3 members of your party. And since I was the healer, I wasn't put to sleep at all. So I'm assuming that this doesn't target healers, although it could be because I was the last on the threat meters. Although I could have been higher. I'm not exactly sure what my position on that was. So if you are heals, just make sure that you keep the tank up or whoever is not asleep. And once or twice it was me and a DPS were the only ones asleep. The sleep spell doesn't last too long, maybe like 4 or 5 seconds, so not too bad. Now if you're a Clothy, rejoice, because his loot table will pander to you in your classes. He drops either a staff with really good int and spirit, and then he drops some pants that has really high int and stam and spirit stats on that. And he also drops his head, obviously, for the quest that we picked up earlier in the dungeon. Now, after you kill him, you're kind of just standing around like, what the hell am I supposed to do? And I'll tell you what you're supposed to do. There are 4 little brazier things located around Lady Eshera's statue. Or it could be Lady Vash. I'm not sure exactly which one. I would recommend clicking each one individually because it will send out a bunch of elite mobs at a time. First it's turtles, then it's a wave of crabs, and then some I don't know, a bunch of crazy randomness. So just take it one at a time is my recommendation. And now, at long last, we come to the final boss of Blackfathom Deeps, Akumai, a giant hydra, which rumor has it was a favored pet to the primordial old gods, but was drawn to this once glorious temple of the Night Elves, and has preyed on the area ever since. Okay, now that all that nonsense is over, I can tell you about the fight, which isn't as challenging as I would say Twilight Lord Kellerus' fight was. He doesn't really have any special abilities that I can remember, maybe Frost Nova. I wasn't paying attention too much into the video. But his loot table is quite interesting, actually. He drops a two-handed sword, a leather waist armor, and then some more cloth pants. So clothies, I mean, this dungeon is pretty decent for you. And directly behind Akumai is a little altar. Now, I'm not an Alliance, and I've never played an Alliance through BFD, so I can't comment on this for sure, but apparently, if you click on it, it will give you a buff which increases your stats by 10% and frost damage by like 15%. And then it'll also teleport you to Darnassus. But I can't say for sure if that's true or not, because as a horde, all you do is get the buff. Okay, everyone, so I hope you guys enjoyed this new episode that I just made for you. It was kind of a spur of the moment thing, and I actually was quite surprised to get an invite to a dungeon as quickly as I did. But I was kind of reluctant to heal it, but with enough mana drinks, I think it wasn't too bad. And I give a lot of credit to this group, and I thank them. I actually kind of asked them beforehand if it was alright if recorded, which I really don't need to do, but I guess out of courtesy, I did anyway. And I know that this episode is extremely short. It's under 13 minutes, which is kind of crazy, because all my episodes are like between 22 and 30 minutes, so you guys are kind of catching a break if you don't like the lengths of my videos. Or if you do, that's cool too. So stick around, there's much more to come. I hope you guys have been enjoying your Thanksgiving break. And as always, this has been Red Sox Fan. Stay classy, and peace out.